All right, welcome to High School Hoops March Madness style. Yes, episode 28. All right, what's this week, Coach?
Well, a lot of our coaches, their season is coming to an end, or it will end in a couple
Or
weeks,
have
or
ended.
have ended. Like my season has ended, and hopefully some of you guys are still playing when you're listening to this. If not, thinking about and reflecting on your season, and I think it's really important in this day and age, and any day and age, the importance of positivity within your program. And so, the question that I really want to address today is, how can, as a coach, as ourselves, at the end of the season, end on a positive note? I think
Right.
it's really important to end our season, no matter how many wins and how many losses, on a positive note.
Yeah, I mean, this is hard.
It's very hard.
It's very hard. And it's kind of like, and we've all, I mean, anybody that's a teacher that's listening to this, we've all had those classes or those teams that are just like, oh my goodness. But I think at times there's a couple things I do. I always write down, I have like a running total of good, happy, and sad kind of things during a season. So I think to end in a positive note, you first of all, you're always building toward next year if you're a high school coach. So once the seniors leave our locker room after our final loss, then the positive part of the positive note, you can do that for them, in my opinion, at the banquet, the seniors, but then the positive note is, okay, you still have the book hasn't closed for you guys sitting in this locker room. What are you going to do in the next 9 months to not feel what the seniors are feeling? What are you going to do so I've always ended mine where, we all come together, we all, do our exit interviews, and we all do all that kind of stuff. And then I'll literally set off an hour and I'll just send off the seniors, and I will have everybody that's coming back in that locker room and say, okay, this is where you can be really positive. It's like, well, that season's over. That's in the books. But the great thing is, a lot of times in life, you don't get to go back and have a second chance. Well, you guys do. So let's talk about what you want to happen. And then we sit and talk about their goals for next year and what they're going to do in the off season, because everybody's rah-rah at that point. But I want to be able to get it on paper where we can reference it back in May or reference it back in July. Like, remember, your standard was, or your goal was this. And that's how I think you can really kind of circle it back to them, because you want it to be positive. We can all look back at games or kids or things that happened. Sometimes the negative ones are the ones that nag at us a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I think as coaches and educators and whatever, that we have to circle that it's the great thing about teaching, and I think it's one of the great things about coaching. You're always around this energy, this life force of energy.
Right.
And that's where you got to tap that. When you're feeling down, you got to tap that life force. That's like Cocoon for anybody that's old. There's a life force there with these youngsters. And I don't feel 50 or 52. I feel 20, because I'm around all these young guys all the time. So I think that's how you can circle back to that positive energy. What do you think, Coach?
I said that, a banquet is a time to recognize achievements and so forth.
Yep.
That's what the first point I said. Focus on other things than wins and losses. Focus on the other things that really matter. I think
Right.
that if kids understand that it goes beyond basketball, and you focus on all the great memories and the journeys, like for, you
The
you at
relationships.
the Madison Memorial Way, what you've done is, you got kids that have been in your youth program forever, and they've gone through this journey, and they've been through their parents. Just
Right.
this idea of, what, we've been through all this together, and for the other guys, that are juniors or sophomores, you got 44 more games, or you got
Right.
so many more games left. So you end on that positive thing. And then the last thing I always think about is growth mindset. What can we do to get better? And not focus, all right, this is our record, and look at statistics, but just focus on those other things that can really get people excited. And that whole idea you talked about, energy, I think is huge.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, the banquet's fine. The banquet's great for patting everybody on the back and rah,
Yep.
rah, rah.
Here's your first team all conference, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
That stuff's all good. We're going to have a whole nother thing about banquets at some point.
Yeah.
But the question was, how do you end on a positive note? And I think that's how you end on it. I'm going to tell you, we could lose the first game of tournament. We could not lose or lose
Right.
last game of tournament. I'm going to deal with that locker room the exact same way. I'm going to be excited when it's over. I'm going to be sad for the seniors. I'm going to be excited for the underclassmen. And when that's not true, then it's time to hang up the whistle.
That's true.
Because I always want to look forward, even when maybe it's not me. Even when I turn this ship over to someone else, I want to be able to say, hey, I got this. I got them excited. I got them involved. They're ready for summer. They're ready for the workouts. They're ready for summer camp, all these things. So I think that's how you can kind of end on a positive note.
I think that's a really good way to look at it.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope. That's great.
That's a great question. All right. Till next week, Coach.
All right. Thanks.
All right, bye.